when you're talking about a player who means this much to this franchise, to their offense, you really have to put your best foot forward.
Okay, Sportsnet's Ben Nicholson-Smith is dialed in on the Blue Jays. You can follow him at B Nicholson-Smith. AJ's already shaking his head. Not at you, Ben. We love you. You're great. But tell us what happened over the past 24 hours and how you decipher the quotes with Vladdy Jr. not even coming in his mind close to a contract extension with Toronto.
Yeah, that says a lot right there. I mean, when you're talking about a player who means this much to this franchise, to their offense, you really have to put your best foot forward. You can't kind of stumble in. You can't, this is the deadline. He set out his terms. He wanted that offer to be on the table last night. And so the Blue Jays had a clear chance to bridge that gap and set themselves up for a decade of potentially Hall of Fame production. I mean, this is a young player who's been an elite hitter, as you guys know. So yeah, they just didn't get it done. And this is a huge missed opportunity for the Blue Jays. I mean, it's going to be a lot harder for them to compete with Vladdy Jr. playing potentially for the Mets or the Red Sox, or who knows where he ends up in a year from now. But it's never looked more likely that he is going to leave the Blue Jays and test free agency, and very well could sign with somebody else.
Is he not Canada's baseball son? I mean, tell me how much he means in marketing money for a team that was willing to go to very high levels for Juan Soto and to very high levels for Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's marketing value is well documented at this point. He is making, over time here, hundreds of millions of dollars in extra money on the business side alone, let alone what he, makes on the field, obviously, and the performance and what that brings to a team. But tell me about the value of Vladdy bringing people to the ballpark and how that would change if he's gone, and how affected he could be by seeing them try to dish out big contracts to other people and not go as high for him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think he's by far the most popular Blue Jays player, probably the most popular player they've had here since Batista and Donaldson. He's maybe even beyond those guys. Like, he had a chance to be a legacy player who would pass franchise records, belonging to Carlos Delgado and Tony Fernandez, and really be the all-time Blue Jay. So fans understand that, they appreciate who he is, and they wanted to see him stay here. I think that in this country, you look to Austin Matthews, you look to Connor McDavid. I think Vlad Jr. is right up there as far as the most popular athletes in Canada. And so the Jays should have been really motivated to get something done. And, clearly they think that they made a good offer, but they thought that with Juan Soto. They thought that with Corbin Burns. They thought that with Shohei Ohtani. At a certain point, you have to bridge the gap between hope and between possible and in the mix, and actually get a deal done. And sometimes that might mean just paying more and paying for a deal that's quote unquote not a good value, or just beyond what you would say the player is worth on a dollars per war level. But end of the day, you either have the player or you don't. And beyond October, the Blue Jays don't have Vlad Jr. So to me, it's a real miss. It's a chance that they had, and now they've kind of missed the boat on that.
Ben, first of all, don't bring up hockey, because USA has taken that from you now. So listen, you can't even bring up hockey. You can't even bring up hockey. After that butt whooping the other night where the Kachuk boys, woo, baby, we got hockey now. Canada's over. Here we come, boys.
Gold medal game still ahead, so we'll see.
I know. But like when the Kachuk boys beat up those Canadians, did it get personal here? Did Shapiro need to get kind of personal with now you can say however you want to say it, but we went above what we thought he was worth. He doesn't need to say that, does he?
I don't think he does. I agreed with what you guys were saying before I came on here. I don't think that that's really necessary. End of the day, if you're a front office official talking about players, I just think the safest path is just to compliment them. These guys are the best at what they do, especially Vlad Jr. It's not hard to come up with good things to say about this guy. He's 25 years old and he's done incredible things. I mean, Aaron Judge at this same age had 100 fewer home runs than what Vlad Jr. has right now. He is a very, very young player, which is easy to forget because he's in his 7th season. But to answer your question, I don't think that was necessary, but it's not the first time. I mean, if you guys remember, at the end of last season, at a season-ending press conference, Shapiro was asked whether Vlad Jr. is a generational player, and he really hesitated. And again, in that situation, I thought, and I wrote this at the time, I thought the move at that point is you say, he is so good. You just heap praise on him. And is he generational? Is he not? I personally think he is. And I think that he's got a ton of accomplishments for a dude who's 25 years old and still has probably another decade of production in this game. And if you're a front office official of any form, I think the safest move is just to talk about how much you like the player.
All right, we'll talk more about him in a moment. Let's hit some storylines here for the Blue Jays. Off-season plan B. They did add Anthony Santander and Andres Jimenez. How do we think that's going to play out for this team? The Vladdy drama that we want to take it to is, do they trade him at the deadline? What about Bo Bichette and his on-field performance? Can he rebound? 2024 did not work out well for him at the plate, but he was really good before that. And they made a little swap. Jordan Romano out, Jeff Hoffman in. Okay, so let's start at the top. What did you think of their offseason acquisitions?
I do actually think that their offseason acquisitions pushed them in the right direction. I think they're a lot better team than they were at the end of last season when they lost 88 games. But if you're adding Max Scherzer and Santander and Andres Jimenez, Hoffman, Jimmy Garcia, Nick Sandlin, that's enough to help a bullpen that really needed the help. So I do think they're a little short on starting pitching depth. And I think they could use one more bat to round out this batting order here. But it's a decent team in a really tough division. I do think they have a chance to compete, to be a wild card team potentially. Obviously, once you're in the playoffs in this format, anything can happen. But they have a ton of work to do before they can get to that point that they're potentially, back in a wild card series.
Okay, back in the wild card series, Vladdy Jr. said he wanted to play for a winner. Okay, if you're saying that you hope they can get to a wild card, let's say they're out of it. Vladdy's probably gone. Do they trade him? Do they dare make the bold move and trade him? Or do they flip and try to sign Bo Bichette? Because we had this conversation also. So will they trade Vladdy, and will they take that money and try to sign Bo to at least keep one of the two superstars they're supposed to have?
Yeah, and what's interesting about Bo is he's talked so much about how he loves playing with Vladdy and how he would want to win with Vladdy and really be alongside him for a long time. So that scenario seems to be out the window for at least the next 8 or 9 months. And it seems like recruiting Bo, probably signing any free agent, is harder now that you don't have that clear direction. And it's not just Vlad, by the way, because Mark Shapiro's contract is also up after 2025. So this whole franchise is kind of in flux as far as what the next steps are. And that's, kind of some big question marks there. But as for whether they would trade Vladdy, I think if they're, let's say they're 44 and 56 at the trade deadline, at that point you have to listen. Like you really do. Even if you don't want to, you have to be out there seeing what the offers are. I think this team is better than that, and they'll probably be hovering around 500, if not a bit above. But you can't rule it out. And if they had extended him, then obviously we wouldn't talk about that at all. But because they haven't, who knows? He could be traded to the Reds for their number 9 prospect. Like weird things happen. I'm not predicting that, but anything is on the table now for Vladdy and for the Blue Jays.
One way that they can get above that mark and be in playoff contention is Bo Bichette has a bounce back year. How big would it be not only for the team, but also for him? Because I don't agree with what AJ was saying or whatever, just that they could sign him. I think he's gone. He has a great year. He's definitely gone. He has a bad year. He's also definitely gone.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. You never know, but Bo Bichette at this point after the season he had last year, it's just going to be tough to align on what that number should be. And I see it more likely that he does reach free agency and potentially leave the Blue Jays. So yeah, that's even more transition that's coming for this ball club. And it's Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, Chad Green. Those guys are veterans, but they're also hitting free agency after this season. So it kind of puts the pressure on the here and the now. And I do think they have a reasonably good team at this moment, good enough to compete, even in a tough division. But they really have to get off to a good start. Like you need those first few months to be, all right, we're really in this. We're holding one of the wild card spots. Then you go out and add pitching. Maybe you add a bat and you see what happens. But it's this isn't where this franchise should be, right? When you dial the clock back 6 years ago to when Vlad and Bo were debuting, the amount of hope that surrounded this team at that time, it was pretty wild. Like, there was a lot of optimism about what that group could be and these young guys coming up. And, they haven't won a playoff game with Vladdy and Bo. So this is potentially that last chance to do so.
Never would have thought we'd say that, right? Never would have thought when they had Bichette, Guerrero, and Bichette, they were like, oh man, we got a chance to be great for years. And they went out and signed some guys. So it's crazy that they haven't won a playoff game with this core group of people. Now, they went out. Jordan Romano was great for the Blue Jays, closing in the 9th inning. Now, he had some wild rides, but when he got it done, he got it done. They go out and get Hoffman to switch. Is Jeff Hoffman the answer for the 9th inning for the Toronto Blue Jays? Can he be that closer every day?
I think he can be. I think that we'll have to see. Hopefully the shoulder holds up through spring. I know that the Braves and the Orioles had some concerns about that, which led to some deals that fell through there. But if he's closing, if he's pitching one inning at a time and not being asked to start, which Atlanta I think had talked to him about, then you're looking at maybe 60 innings in the course of a season. I haven't seen the MRIs. I wouldn't know how to interpret them if I did. So it's kind of guesswork from here. But if he is healthy, just how dominant he was with the Phillies the last couple of years, I really do see that as being a pitcher who can close 30, 35 games and be really reliable. And they need that in their bullpen because it was not a good scene down there last year.
We shall see. There at least were changes. We'll see if the changes actually lead to success for this team. Ben, really great breakdown from you. Appreciate it. Obviously, everyone check out Ben's work at Sportsnet, and you can follow him to see all his work at B. Nicholson Smith. Always great to talk to you, Ben. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Anytime.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.